Oh, why?
You don't actually have to be
Oh god.
in front of the thing. You just have to.
Hey, you just went live on Twitch. Oh, are we doing this live? Oh, alright. So what difference is...
I didn't think it was. It's basically just like, hey, this just came out. Remember this about Halo?
Oh, well then why don't I just watch the stream then? You know, because...
I didn't think it warranted doing like a big post-production thing, so
Oh, well then, yeah, then I'm not going to bother to try and download something in less than half an hour. It's just silly. Besides, does anybody else still play Reach?
well, I don't.
Huh? Oh yeah, it probably hasn't refreshed in 8 billion years. Okay, and I'm just shutting off my console. So are you gonna do Twitch or Beam or both or? Ooh, oh. Now, are you doing 720?
Yeah, this I dialed every
Okay.
might as well just have it be smooth
It's just that there's another pro streamer that was actually on giving tips to Lucky and Buttwipe. And he actually suggested that the sweet spot was around like 900p instead of them trying to do 1080. For your purposes, I don't know whether that would matter or whatnot, but he was suggesting some technical jiggery pokery we may wish to review for the future. Yeah, I know. Well, apparently there was some quote-unquote smoothness involved. That supposedly that was good. But anyway, I'm gonna go grab my water, and then we'll be hopefully jumping in. Did you get a confirmation from Funkmon that he's going to be joining us for this particular event? He's always a little late, but
since you're not playing and he's not there, I guess that'll be just me playing by myself while trying to talk.
I'm sorry, but for our purposes. There goes my alarm for the Let's Play.
That I can't just put in a Spartan bot and just watch them play.
Well, isn't there one you can do?
No.
or just watch the animations going through?
I'm thinking, I wonder if I could use. Oh, you know what? I played some yesterday. I could literally just play back a film.
If you want, I mean, that to me sounds perfectly acceptable. If there's anything in the film that you didn't notice or wanted to discuss, that's a possibility
No,
too. But
it's literally just to have nominally topical video to accompany.
perfect. How long do we plan on talking? Hey, the slideshow seems to be doing rather well, I thought.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, did you post that on DBO?
No, I didn't ever edit it.
Oh, you should. Well, so that just means that those numbers were going up there without help from DBO. So, oh, actually, it's probably good that you didn't. There apparently seems to be some weird, massive dump on Halo history. Oh. Did I? Where? I probably posted when it was a really small thread, and I was probably just being a wise ass. Really? I didn't even see my post. Sure, it was me. That seems to be buried in here somewhere. No, I don't. I'm still looking. I don't see myself. It was probably Black Tiger. Well, he's the one who made the original post. Yeah, no, the last post that I had was basically one of the references that Insane Drive and Raga were talking about, that they were making comments on Mass Effect, and I just made one that kind of chimed in on those very same points. And I love Insane's response, though. Because, yeah, it was basically a commentary on the quote-unquote same endings from the Mass Effect 3. And, yeah, Insane chimed in. He said, yeah, and it's the same thing. But no, that's the last thing that I posted. The rest of it is all distinctively not me. So, yeah. I haven't talked or been doing anything with Halo in 10 years, so I don't think that would have been great for me. Why haven't I? I've been playing a little thing called Destiny. What, in the theater mode? Yeah. Up, down, left, right. All those little fiddly bits. So, I'm gonna go get my beverage. I'll be right back. Okay, so what number on your clock do you see right now? I want to see what kind of delay I've got. Okay, I've got 10, 42, 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 2, 31, 30. Cool. So that shouldn't be too bad. It's too bad we couldn't use Beam. And now Mixer. Brought to you in part by brand renaming. Of course, this does mean I can actually go over and watch other Twitch streams at the same time, though. Say, yes, no, that's a great thing to talk about. Yes. No, I'm not watching anybody else's stuff. Not at all. Why would I do that? Yeah, should I actually peruse that? Because is this in response to the massive info dump on Halo history? Wait, voice, Vice, etc., etc. Ooh, can I just wait for the movie? Okay. Really? Any highlights you'd like to share with the rest of the class? Save us all this reading. How long is it? What is this? A couple pages? Was this an interview piece?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure exactly what it was. It had to be what looked like bios, but then obviously for several sections they repeat. So yeah. So this was a big Q&A that was actually posted. This was an interview done.
I did a series of interviews.
Wow, that is quite a history. Does it get into dirty nitty-gritty stuff that would be unpleasant for some people to cover? Are we going to be covering those points tonight? I was wondering.
Somebody takes a shot at me.
Probably not. There always is.
No, I would say
No, not at Jason specifically. Just shade. There's always shade. There's always subtleties. There's always, yeah. So not all crews get along and play nice in the sandbox. Everybody's got their own take and issues and friction. That's just how office environments are. Doesn't matter what business or market you're in. That's always the case. People are people, and sometimes feathers get ruffled. But yeah, it seems quite extensive. Yeah, did you plan on covering everything, or were there just a couple of highlights you wanted to discuss? Oh, two. Okay, good. I can't think of anything specific, but man, I wouldn't know exactly what to skim. This is, yeah, massive is definitely the appropriate term here. It's almost too much. I mean, I've seen film scripts that are shorter than this. This is quite extensive. I can see he took his time with it. See, to picking out highlights just almost doesn't do it justice. Hey, we're gonna ask Jamie, where are my orbital satellite weapons I can aim and fire? Still waiting on them. That was an interesting quote by Joe Staten. We were driven by the strong desire to outdo ourselves, but we didn't fully understand our limitations, and it was a hard process to admit to ourselves that we couldn't do everything. So how long is the film that you've got?
17 minutes.
Oh, I think this should be enough. No, actually, I think that's probably a very good time. Oh, okay. That means you're only a couple seconds ahead then. Seconds 57, 6, 5. Okay. I'm on Twitch right now. Actually, should I check the others to see which one's quicker? if there is a. Oh, the YouTube chat. Okay, let me check the. You want me to reply? Mm-hmm. History of Halo.
Firefight.
Oh, YouTube wants me to create a channel to join
Defend
chat.
this zone.
Alright, well, welcome everybody to the stream. Who's watching? I didn't even know who was watching this one.
Probably just us.
Probably just us.
Which is fine by me. Funkbound is apparently he's pulling into the apartment right now, so hopefully he'll be joining us in a few moments. I'm Blackstar along with Narcogen, and tonight we're going to be doing something a little different. We're actually going to be having a blast from the past, so to speak. Going to be covering some brief history of Halo bits. Apparently there was a large article that was posted recently that covered apparently a year's worth of research and the oral history talking to all the makers of the Halo series. And I guess we're going to be talking about some highlights of that. Is that not correct?
Well, I wanted to point out a couple things. This writer, Steve Haskey, apparently spent a lot of time researching this article. It's up on waypoint.vice.com. It's called the Complete Untold Story of Halo. I think basically is that right now there's a critical mass of people who have left Bungie, or even in some cases already left from 343, so they're no longer working on Halo, and some of them have not been working on Halo for a long time. I don't know whether it's that people's NDAs are expiring, or it's just that people feel comfortable talking about certain things. So that it's a big collation. A lot of it is stuff that people already knew. Some of it's even been in Bungie's own Vidocs about, the development hell on Halo 2 and even on Halo 1. There's some stuff, I think, in Halo 3 there that some people may not have known about. I think it takes a while before, people are never comfortable about talking about the most recent development problem. But Halo 3 is already old now. It's having its 10th anniversary this year.
That's weird to me, actually, because I don't think of it being that old, out of all the games that we've played. We've been playing Halo for, years and years and years. And it never seemed that long, but now, 10-year anniversary of the third one in the series. That's wow. I'm getting up there, boy.
So I just kind of wanted to maybe play some Firefight, because I figured that would be the easiest thing to play without paying too much attention to it. But I guess Blackstar didn't get my message, so he's not ready to play that. Funkbon is not on station yet, so we're actually
is on his way.
We're actually just watching a film. A theater mode film of me playing Firefight badly yesterday in prep for this. So until Funkbon
now, how did
gets
it
in,
feel?
It felt pretty good, except it's obviously pretty different from Destiny, and I've gotten very used to it, especially on the controls. Zooming in and out with scoped weapons is obviously very, very different.
Jumping.
And the big problem I have is that I'm hyper aware of the difference on scoping, because there's no aim down sight, which of course is integrated into everything. And here I forgot what this weapon was. I basically used an orbital strike on a grunt, a single grunt.
Now, to me, that's the best orbital strike that you could possibly have, is on a single grunt.
But I was hyper aware of the difference in scoping, but what it meant is that I was completely avoiding the left trigger, which meant I could never find a grenade when I wanted it.
Really?
Because, I kept hitting the bumper, and it was doing like a sprint thing, and it was reloading a gun. I'm like, what? Where's the grenade?
Well, did you check your layout, though? I mean, that's the big thing. Did you actually go into the menus?
This layout I've got is the closest to what I'm currently comfortable with, but there isn't anything that lets me kind of do what I want, which is to mimic Destiny's controls as much as possible. You can't.
Well, yeah, because we've been playing Destiny for 3
move
years,
the
and
zoom
obviously
off of the stick. It's always
Yeah.
there, so you can't mimic the aim down sights where you can quickly zoom in and out all the time.
Right.
And you can't put grenade on a bumper, or at the very least, you can't do one of those things without making one of the other things not what I want.
not work, yeah, or at least work the way that you like.
But
well, I
hey, it
think
does
we've
have
got Funk
theater
coming
mode,
in.
which Destiny doesn't have. So I can,
Does not,
I can mess
yeah.
around with camera angles here, watching myself play, and I kind of forgot. I can go in and out of
How that
third
even works?
person. I forget I forget what the key is for the free cam.
That's a good question, actually. So for anyone in the comments below, you can actually check that out right now. Yeah, as it stands right now, the listings for this,
Ion
I see
4
that-
says, "Wow."
yeah. So bringing back memories there. Yeah, you've got record and taking photos, and you can actually start the film again, but you can't kind of speed up or fast forward like you could if it was
Yeah, you can.
in real time. Can you? Because
Yeah, you can.
I see the play pause
forward. I can
and
go
stop.
forward. If I pull the right trigger,
Yeah, but you can't
it'll go
scrub.
forward. I think
That's
that was
what I
my
mean.
first death. I also had trouble finding the melee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's not on. Again, it's not on a shoulder button anymore. It was not on a shoulder button back then.
Yeah.
It was on the B button.
Wow.
So
The more you know. Now, Funk is supposedly trying to come in. He seems to be at the root level, so hopefully he'll join the Let's Play momentarily. He's obviously getting his microphone and his stuff set up.
yeah, basically, I gotta say, Halo is harder than Destiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which we kind of already knew, but
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, what about the target painter? Yeah, I guess, the target painter option for you to actually do the orbital strikes and stuff. We had one slightly
the
before in a
Sylvie's gonna
single
kill
grunt. So I don't know how much he's going to be doing that in this video. But yeah, it's surprising actually because this particular was a neat feature. This is a throwback even back to the old marathon days. That was nice, where people had films and can actually go over their footage again when either creating, recording, or doing other things. And Destiny doesn't have that.
Yep.
It never had that. Xbox has this neat little thing where you can record your clips directly and it will
right, but that's
upload
still
them to
just
the website.
video. It's not film.
But,
This is film
yeah, that's video.
playback, like
That's
in
not-
Myth.
yeah,
They're
that's
really
not the
small
game.
files. And the only problem is that they can only, just like Myth files, they can only go forward. You can't
Forward,
you
yeah,
can't
because
rewind.
every action is built on the action, I guess, that is being input by the player. So
I'm going for the melee button, and every time I do it, I reload a gun instead because I'm hitting the wrong button.
Right, because instinctively you're going by what you're used to. Well, that was a good
Yep, there we
toss
go.
there.
See, the elite knows where he knows where the melee button is.
Well, of course he does. He has more experience with it right now. So of the experience that you have, other than the interface issues and whatnot, what were some of the corresponding things that came back to you, either in relating to the article or relating to newer gameplay that you found that much different?
Well, actually, the things that I wanted to talk about in the article, and I think Funk is here. I don't know if he can hear us or we can hear him.
Yep.
Funk. Okay.
Yep, there he is.
All right, so now that you're here, I can mention the things that were in this article that I kind of wanted to talk about while we watch me fumble around playing Firefight here.
Yeah, poorly.
Which is, if you think about it, is kind of like Destiny Patrol mode in beta. It's like a single zone patrol.
Yep, and just wave after wave come.
Yeah. But anyway, there were two things. One of them I actually posted about in the DBO forum, which was this remark from
Which one? There are so many.
Ryan.
Yeah,
Not Harold
about Halo
Ryan,
4.
but the guy who left Kojima's studio came
About if he could do it
onto
all
Halo
again, that kind of
4
thing.
as the original lead, the creative lead, that which is
Instead of the subcontracted anniversary to Saber, is that right?
yes,
Is that the one you're talking about?
yes, Ryan Payton. Ryan Payton left Kojima Productions in 2008 after working on Metal Gear Solid. He was tapped to be the creative director on Halo 4 and later was demoted to working on the story because he was replaced by Josh Holmes. And
Ouch.
he was quoted. Yeah, there are some quotes from him basically to the effect of "ouch." You feel like he kind of got promoted too high and then demoted, and it was very kind of uncomfortable for him and other people, which is very understandable. But he made this remark that's saying that, well, you know, we were trying to be really ambitious and we were trying to be true to Halo and we were also trying to do something new and we were also being a group that had never worked together on anything and had not yet shipped a game. And so in retrospect, what I would do is I would have remade Halo CE internally.
Really?
Let me get the quote here. Yes, here it is. He says, "If I could do it all over again, I would have fought hard to not make Halo 4 as it shipped or this innovative, forward-thinking Halo game that we dreamt up. I would have remade Halo CE internally at 343 for Xbox 360 or Xbox One and made it a faithful, unbelievably beautiful, well-designed remake that would teach the team how to ship together, how to work within this engine, how to earn respect from the fans. We should have done that before creating something wild and crazy." And that drove me first to pull out my hair and then to go and search on the HBO forums for one of my own posts from 2011 because because this was a horse that I beat pretty dead when 343 started taking over.
Remakes?
Because, well, specifically about what the remake was going to be like, because I think we all knew that what it was very likely that they were going to do was that they were going to slap a fresh coat of paint on Halo 1 and reissue it. But I wanted them to do something else. I wanted them to take the Reach engine and remake the levels and the encounters. Oh, did we? All right, we lost Funk already.
No, we always lose Funk. He always comes back, though. I think he's probably having problems using his neighbor's internet at the moment.
And so it was just kind of frustrating to see somebody because Microsoft had already committed to, okay, we're going to make an anniversary edition of Halo 1. And they had already committed to making a new studio to, you know, shepherd the Halo franchise. And I don't think it's that like, oh, I came up with an idea that they didn't, because I don't think that's true. I think it must have been obvious that this was an option that they could do it. But instead they chose basically to subcontract to Saber to write a new graphics layer and to use some of the Bungie artists to make new art assets. I don't know how many of them. I know that at least one, I think Paul Russell mentions in the article, or actually not in the article, but actually in some tweets later on, that he was working on new assets for Anniversary. But I don't know.
Before or after the outsourcing?
Yeah, I think I guess it was just
that was
economics.
a big contention at the time. I remember.
I guess they figured they just could make more money. That, you know, that plenty of people would buy Anniversary anyway, whether, you know, regardless of who made it and regardless of how hard it was to make, and it would have been a lot more costly to, to do the remake he's talking about, but it wouldn't necessarily sell anymore.
Well, I think his post, obviously, for mentioning of what he wanted to do better is I think he would have liked to have had training wheels or the experience of getting a cohesive team that, instead of having to struggle their way through and creating something, would have already had the tool set, the teamwork, and the experience in already doing it. And until you actually ship a game, and until you actually have a cohesive team that has cut their teeth on other projects, then, you know, you're basically fighting two things. You're fighting to ship, and you're fighting the process of all the development and all the stages through, of which obviously he thought were problematic, which was a non-cohesive team, people who didn't have experience in the engine, and issues where they had never done this before. You know, everyone always feels more nervous when they're doing something for the very first time. So obviously all those things apparently did weigh heavily on him, and I would assume rightfully so. So I don't think from his perspective, though, it wasn't, hey, let's remake something because we want to remake something. I think he would have felt more comfortable about it if they had done something earlier.
I mean, he's not
obviously
actually,
it wasn't.
Yeah, he's not actually saying that, like, well, I had that idea and I rejected it. I mean, it very well probably not even up to him. But again,
I'm sure it wasn't.
It's just frustrating to think
was
that
obviously having issues.
They didn't do it not because anybody thought of it, but because they made a conscious decision to say, we think we'll make more money if we make this more cheaply and instead get the new studio immediately to work on a full new title. That the combined take from these two things will be, wow, man, that Hunter really pasted me.
Now, did you change perspectives here? Did you go from
Yeah, I
third to
did.
first?
Yeah, if you
Oh,
click
okay.
if you click the stick, you can go from third. I forget what the free cam is.
Right.
Can't really find it.
Hmm.
Can't
Well, you
turn
have
the
to
reticle
look
on
up
and off.
online. Maybe we can
It's
have somebody in the
amazing.
comments below.
Why doesn't
The
Destiny
Dark
have
One
this?
posted, he had, I think, a Skull King. I'm not sure what that is in reference to, a Skull
Question
King.
marks. I don't know.
I don't know either. Well, thanks for chiming in the chat. Yeah, for all the people just joining us in, yeah, we're covering a little bit brief history of
We're just
Halo,
talking about Halo.
and talking about
Stuff in
the
this
big article that was posted by Steve Haskey, the complete and untold history of Halo. That you said he'd been working on this for like a year.
I think he tweeted to some extent that this was I don't remember if it was a year exactly, but it was a long
Yep.
process to interview a lot of people.
Yep. And the article is on
itself is quite long.
waypoint.vice.com, so you guys should check it out if you're interested, especially for all the players that never actually got into the Halo series or had only touched on bits of it near the end, because everybody has their experience in their era. And I know from myself that I first really got into Bungie games with Halo. That was one of the big first entry points. I had played Marathon before. I'd played a little Myth, but, I was never a really super diehard fan until Halo came out. That was, ever since Snargagen showed me one video back in, 98, of them, on his laptop. I remember him actually taking the laptop and bringing it into the dining room. He had this old Power Mac G3, and he was showing me this first ever Halo video footage, and jaw dropped.
That was 99.
Really,
that would have been the.
Was it 99? Okay,
that would have been the Macroll video, because that was their first show. They showed at E3 that year, but only behind closed doors, and that was when the announcement was that hey, Bungie was going to exhibit. And it was going to be part of the keynote at Macworld that year.
Yep. And I got super interested from that point, and ever since then, when it came out, and even after I first played it, which I did not like at the time. But when Narc had come over home for Christmas, I mean, that's all he did his entire time there. I can remember him being glued to that television in the living room. Barely looked up at either of us. Both him and my sister Octavia. They had been watching that for the entire time when they were there. And it wasn't until after Narc had left and returned back to sunny downtown Kazakhstan that I started feeling withdrawal pains, and Narc continually talking about it and reading stuff in the forums about it. I decided to give it another shot and actually bought myself an Xbox and actually bought the game and got into it. And ever since then, we went through the whole series. I mean, every single Halo game that had come out ever since. And I even went to stuff that Narc hadn't. I'd done Halo 4, I'd done Halo 5, and Narc hasn't. He felt 3 had kind of locked up the series.
Play Halo 4, but I cannot.
Well, you did make an effort. You did make an effort, so I guess that was kind of interesting.
I've watched supercuts of gameplay and all the cutscenes, so I more or less know what happens.
Right.
But every time I go
That's
to play
remarkable, because I played the game and I'm not sure what happened.
Well, put it,
nobody.
I have an understanding
happened,
as much as anyone can say they have it. I don't think my experience was that different from anybody who'd actually played it.
No, it was almost like a Japanese anime where they had
you're probably right.
storage vomit, where they simply foist all these things at you from left, right, and center, and you've got so much information you don't know what to do with it. You can't digest it in the amount of time that which they give it. It's terrible. So yeah, and at the time though, I was just glad to have another title to play with. But subsequently, I haven't had any replays of it. So that tells you something. We used to go from games where we would play them forever, and I ended up playing Halo 1 for almost 10 years, off and on, all the time. And yeah, this one's haven't even touched. So that kind of goes to how much longevity and replay value they have.
That is a good point, and it's not it's not like the we're older now, so why bother? Or
right.
There's more stuff out. I think Halo 5, I played Halo 5 twice, because it's actually a good game if you ignore the story.
You mean as far as the multiplayer goes?
The multiplayer's good, the campaign's
like
fun.
Destiny? Is that what you're saying?
I'd say, Destiny, the thing I've always said about Destiny is that it's got the most satisfying melee in any video game. But I think probably the second most satisfying is Halo 5. They really did well with that. Halo 4 was just not... It was You know, it's like eating a graham cracker. You're satisfied in a way, but you're never going to go and say, "Man, I should eat some more graham crackers in the future."
In the comments right now, Datsy says, Blackstar said, I miss him. He goes, also, play Reach with me. I was actually going to do it. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to download some of the updates and whatnot because I did not get the message in time. I should, but I checked my email. I didn't get it, so sorry about that.
My Xbox actually turned off while I was away, so right now I'm
Did it?
downloading the last 150 megabytes.
Oh, okay, so
So I
maybe you'll
could
be able
get
to
on.
jump in.
Yeah.
I didn't bother, so maybe you and Nar can actually do some playthrough. I'll just watch.
Yeah, maybe when we're done the discussion, because frankly, I was having so much trouble with the controls. I don't know that I would be able to play and talk intelligently at the same time.
Yeah, we'll not be able to kill anything. And
Yeah, just watching. Actually, I'm having a tough time killing things. Just watch a look at that box. But anyway, so the other thing that was a thing that I did not know about and had not heard, and I don't know if it's even appeared anywhere else, was this a little bit more detail about the Halo Chronicles game that was supposed to be being worked on at Weta that was kind of related to the Halo movie that never happened. So there's stuff in this article about that was interesting.
Yeah, that I would probably want to digest because Halo movie
It's
was
pretty
something that I'd
interesting,
wanted
yeah.
forever. Yeah, and well, see, I don't know if I want to get the details on that because I don't know whether it would be annoying, heartbreaking, or both.
There's not really very much. Even before this article, what we knew was
very little.
Peter Jackson's working on a Halo Chronicles video game thing.
Right.
It's going to be kind of a video game, kind of not.
Yeah,
And then that's 100% of the info we knew.
Narrative thing. Yeah, we knew nothing. So this one, Marty O'Donnell's mentions that the character in that would not be a Spartan and wouldn't be an alien, but would be somehow modified by alien technology or modified biologically, and that it would attach to your arm. And I think later they talk about the idea that the character would basically be turning, over the course of the game, would turn into a Promethean. And this would have been probably the first mention in a game of the Prometheans, because that doesn't come into the stuff until, Halo 4 and 5.
Yeah, much later. Yeah, that was not something that they had alluded to, or there was a lot of dramatic foreshadowing in it at all.
So there's mention in this article to the effect that when the whole thing fell apart, the game didn't get made, the movie didn't get made, and Neil Blomkamp, who replaced, on the movie project, replaced the person who originally was going to be the director, which was Guillermo del Toro. That he went ahead and made District 9, and he had made the little Halo shorts that were used for promotion. So there were a lot of props and a lot of other stuff that was made, and a lot of that showed up in District 9. I'm like, yeah, sure, some guns and some sets and stuff like that. That made the idea that those things would get reused made sense to me. But what I didn't know apparently is that a major plot point of District 9 apparently came from that, and that the article comes one whiff away from basically saying that Joe Staten came up with this idea and Neil Blomkamp stole it for District 9, because that whole thing.
Oh my god, I didn't even connect it.
Yeah,
really?
That this
I didn't even connect it.
That the main character, that the main character in that one has himself modified by alien biology, and his arm gets weaponized.
Oh my god!
And that
you remember that where the
Joe
technology
Staten
was
had
suddenly
a
accessible.
problem watching the
blown.
movie without kind of feeling very mixed feelings about it, which I think is pretty understandable.
Well, do you think that was a motivation of why the project that he was working on suddenly evaporated? Because I think some of the things that he had done they had liked, and I think Elysium was made to prove look, I can make a Halo movie, guys. Look at all the cool stuff I can do. And because nothing after that, it was, but I think from a technical standpoint, I think that was a test. A lot of times people make films to prove that they can make films. In fact, there was actually one that the Wachowski brothers made to prove that they could make a decent movie, so they could get them.
Now.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. To prove they could make a decent, profitable movie before they got the money and the backing to do The Matrix. Does anybody remember what that film was?
No.
Yes, no, maybe.
It's
got Pantaleone in it.
what?
Yeah, Joe Pantaleone. He's actually a major star in the film that I'm thinking about. Anyway, you guys think about it. You guys go discuss ahead.
Just tell us. We're not gonna.
Nope. I don't want to do it. I want to give you guys a chance at this. I don't want to ruin it for you.
Okay. Chat wants to know, when are we going to buy the Myth license? I strongly suspect
Never.
that we know who's asking that, and the answer is yes. No, is that it's not for sale. Take-Two doesn't sell things. I think they just buy them. In fact, Take-Two just bought the rights to Kerbal Science Program, of all things.
Did they?
Yeah.
Why, did they have anything planned for that?
I have no idea.
Why not? Honestly, so if they the thing is,
Grand Theft
if you've
Kerbal.
got money just sitting there, they can. I mean, if you have money, then it's just sitting there. You're wasting that money. You might as well buy some IPs or buy 40% of some company you think is successful or something like that.
Yeah,
But
cash is an
Take-Two's got
underperforming asset at this point.
You think?
I'm waiting in the firefight lobby, but it not doing anything.
Doesn't want to
all right.
actually
Well,
let you in.
I was just playing a film. Let's see if I can see you online. I'll try to get you into a game here. I don't know how well this is going to work.
Yeah, me either.
Maybe comments
You
in below
played
would
this
actually
game a
like to
lot.
mention
All
something.
right, I think
You're
I gotta,
warrant officer grade 2.
I think I got to get out of the film first.
I'm
Pie Force
warrant
says he's going to have to
officer.
rewatch District 9 now.
Good.
Yeah, Vortuganal's actually in here. He's the one that's under Dats. Yeah, he says he's actually started playing Halo 5 again. And yeah, at some point we probably should actually get together to do back. Pion 4 says there's an expansion pack DLC planned for KSP. So at least he thinks so. So that is interesting. No, actually, the movie that I'm thinking about, I guess Comments doesn't know either, is actually Bound from 1996.
Oh,
That
yeah,
was
Oh, good.
actually
I've never heard of it.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Jennifer Tilly, Gia Gershon, Joe Pantaleone, and yeah, both the writers and directors were the Wachowski brothers at the time, now the sisters, who are today.
Historically
But
accurate.
that's the movie that they had to make for the studio to prove that they could actually make a decent film, and that's why they got the green light on The Matrix.
Oh my god, what is this? This isn't good.
What, is something happening with your Xbox?
So how laggy is this for you, Funk?
Alright, well, I'll press forward, and then I'll tell you when I move forward.
See, I just see you in the firefight
Move.
menu. Joshua Game just came in. He wants to know, he's new. What happened?
Oh yeah, I'm getting
well,
yeah. This is going to be unplayable, so we may just go back to watching the film.
This might be fun. Joshua, we're
Yeah.
covering over a brief history of Halo regards to an article that was posted out on waypoint.vice.com that was researched for about a year and was put up recently by Steve Haskey, where he had actually interviewed and talked to many of the people behind the Halo series and a lot of the interesting details behind the scenes as far as the creation and execution of it.
Oh yeah,
And right now you've got
Slideshow.
Funkmon and Blackstar and Narcogen. And Narcogen and Funk are now loaded up. They're actually trying to play a firefight game, but sadly, they're both 11 time zones away from each other, so the
Yeah.
frame rate may not be the best for the backdrop.
Yeah, no, like every once in a while it freezes up and says waiting for other players, kind of like the beginning
Yeah.
of the Myth game. It's
Really? I see normal gameplay right now. I mean, I'm seeing battle rifle shots and it doesn't seem too bad.
You don't see that, but the menu
I should-
comes up every once in a while and it goes waiting. Yeah, like
now
that,
it's
waiting for
coming
other
up.
players.
Periodically.
This is to
Sometimes
give
I
you.
freeze in midair.
This is to give you an appreciation. Oh, selecting you. Oh, host migration.
Wow.
Yeah.
It
What a
doesn't know.
mistake.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't know whose connectivity is going on here right now. Yeah, trying to give Funk host
Wow,
for
game's
anything.
way
is a
better
mistake.
now.
Oh my god, yeah. It's like ice skating. It's like playing. Oh, you jerk.
Yeah, no, Narc periodically every now and then just really slows down and you get a menu. That's funny. waiting for other players to pull their triggers.
Yeah.
So I guess this kind of showcases how spoiled we are with Destiny, even though its flaws do periodically,
no ammo.
wreak havoc on players, and we have things to complain about. But yeah, this, as far as their networking modeling goes, is not kind to low bandwidth connectivity over multiple time zones. So yeah, we are in fact spoiled the fact that any game in Destiny
works at all.
play
Yeah.
over there.
I mean,
yeah, with us. So there is that.
It's a big deal, and yet every time people talk about Destiny netcode, which to me, they should
It's like,
win,
yeah,
I don't
what are
know,
you talking
Pulitzer,
about?
an Oscar, a Nobel Peace Prize, every award they should possibly win for that netcode. Everyone says it's a piece of crap. I mean, their priorities must just be they want the guy with the best ping to win. Which is how it generally works in like Counter-Strike or whatever.
Yes.
You know?
Somebody's asking if Ooga's there. No, sadly, Ooga is not with us right now. He wants someone to please release your old small joke tag sets, please. So apparently we have some fans in here of several other.
Oh.
past
I thought one of
titles
those.
that,
I thought
Bungie
the
did.
guy asking about Myth was either Ugo or Renwood trolling.
It could
us
be
and
somebody that
pretending
they
to be
know.
somebody
Yep.
else. Okay, I'm playing on an Xbox One, so this is in back compatibility mode.
Yeah, Pion 4 wants to know if you're playing on a 360 or the Xbone. So they're both playing on Xbox Ones right now. And now, is this just the Firefight update that you guys are playing? This is the piece that
It
was
migrated
recently
Great.
that it recently added.
Oh.
This wasn't possible earlier. Is that correct? This is
I
now
don't know.
something that
See, I
Narc
can't
said it was
remember.
about 8
There we go.
gigs
Can't remember
that
the
you could
damn
actually play.
melee button.
Yeah, you obviously can't fight and talk at the same
This
time.
is terrible.
So I think this is a recent update that allowed people to actually play the Firefight online together. It was about 8 gigs, and I haven't downloaded yet, so that's why I'm not in this right now. But I don't think net-wise it would help either way for their current playback. Starting new host. Wow, this is funny. It's literally ping-ponging host back and forth between you guys in a desperate and sadly unachievable attempt to try and increase the net performance between them both. So sorry for the laggy gameplay,
because
ladies and gentlemen.
there is no optical solution for this problem. There
No,
just isn't.
sadly, it doesn't appear to be one. I'm just remembering the bits of this. I can recall the wave after wave and the drop ships and airstrikes, because the airstrikes was something new too. That wasn't something that was popular or was in the earlier titles. I don't remember using them that much or them being that effective, if I recall.
So host migration.
Played Halo Reach Firefight, I think once, and that's including this time.
So that gives you an idea of how often or how popular it was at the time.
I played ODST Firefight a little while, but I played this Reach game, and the article talked a little bit about the story of Reach, just a very little bit. But Frankie said that he essentially wrote the story, and that makes sense. Everything makes sense now. Why it's a piece of crap.
The fact that Frankie was the one that actually penned it.
Yeah, because Frankie seems to have his own, like, his idea of what Halo is fan fiction, but unfortunately he's in charge of Halo. So he's wrong about the entire story. He unfortunately says that he's right. Like if Paul McCartney were to say that Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds isn't about acid.
Right.
He's wrong, but technically he's right.
Because he's a Beatle.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can always tell when the Beatles got into drugs.
Crap that retconned everything in the novels and a lot of the stuff that we learned from the games, and the story's dumb. And that's my main critique. The story's dumb.
Is it because you think that his world and his job over there made him far more interactive or absorbed in the fan fiction and fan reactions that it kind of colored his reception of the game as a whole? That's
No.
where his focus went
I
more so in that
think
than prior materials or what had come before.
You ever go online and then people are like looking at scenes of a TV show and they see that this guy is wearing red in this scene or whatever, and then they try and dig too deep into what's going on in the TV show.
Right.
I think that's the kind of person Frank O'Connor is. And once he got in charge of the game that has a story, and he realized that the story is fairly simple. Humans are forerunners. Reach got glassed from orbit. He was so upset that the story was simple and rational that he had to ruin it and then turn it into Lost or whatever he did.
Well, let's not do that. We know how that turned out.
He had to overcomplicate it. That's what I think.
Well, one thing I'm actually noticing now that I forgot about actually was seeing the health packs on the wall.
Yeah.
And I noticed for
non-regenerating health. Wow.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, who would thunk it? But no, it's just the fact that now the ammo packs that for Destiny 2 just revealed just last week, they are going to be putting heavy on packs on the walls as opposed to locations or drops or things like that. So I'm wondering, is Bungie looking at design elements that they had done in or had been released in their past titles and are applying it to the new ones as well? Or was that just something that came out of necessity as opposed to a preference to what had come before? I'd be curious about that. But anyway,
I bet it came out of necessity because
you think?
So we know the idea of start to crate, right?
Yeah.
And the idea is that when a first person shooter starts using ammo crates, that means the designers have run out of ideas to give you new ammo, and therefore you should be able to reliably tell if a game is good or not by how soon you run into ammo crates. And in the original Halo, it took until 343 Guilty Spark, and Halo 2 it was the first second of the first mission.
Right.
And
Lynn
I think that
Rabbery
says
says
a lot about the
red
campaign.
shirts. Woo. I guess you guys are a bunch of red shirts.
So I think that in Destiny we had this once they started giving us ammo in the campaign mode of Destiny, like in those stupid ammo crates.
Yep.
That to me says they know they ruined the game, and they have no other way to fix it than to just give us ammo.
Right. And that being said, that they're tailoring the experience for a range of people, and obviously they want to include those that may not have the same level of technical dexterity or experience or skill set or what have you, but they still want the game accessible to those that may not. So if that is the case, then I can understand it from a financial perspective where they want to make it fun enough that people that normally don't do this or would just start to get into this, it's accessible to them and not a frustrating experience. But at the same time, yeah, it does kind of dumb down a lot of aspects for experienced players who are well beyond the ammo crate necessity aspect of it. Jordan Rich says, sub, y'all are awesome.
Wow, what a liar.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of a different stream there. Yeah, this is not the skill-based stream that you're looking for. So no, this is a bunch
how do you
of
use the jump pack? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Kind of
it's
to get a
been
little
10 years
off topic. What's happened to us several times in this match here, which is host migration. We've been promised will never happen in Destiny 2 because they've now moved the physics host to the cloud.
Yes.
Which seems to indicate that basically the people in charge of projects don't necessarily... Oh god, I have no guns at all now, do I?
Probably not. Well, I'm curious as to why they decided to change that now, and is there some technical reason why they didn't do it prior? Was there some limitations of why they picked certain functions to be on the server side and the others to be on the box?
I bet it has no effect in actual gameplay, and they're just doing it.
Well, that's
shut
just it.
people
I'm
up.
curious as to the real world performance difference that either of the changes that they made or what adjustments in the model that have been done will feel to the player. You know, and considering that they do say that many of the things, unfortunately, are actually still going to be on their P2P design portion of the netcode, it's not going to really improve it all that much. You know, we're still going to be running into issues and still going to be running into the glitches and problems. It's just a question of if they're going to be fewer, are they going to be different types, different kinds?
Well, look,
you know, how it will actually shape in the long run.
If there's no host migrations because nobody's Xbox is being a physics host, that is a noticeable improvement in and of itself. It just means that those things will never happen. So even if nothing else is achieved, it would be that. But it's also kind of weird that, you know, I mean, like Lou Smith gets asked, what about dedicated servers? And says, no, we're not doing that. We're not investing in that. But the BungieNet update basically, like, comes within a hair's length of saying, yeah, he was wrong about that. Which means either Luke Smith was answering a different question. I mean, I think what's obviously true is that they're not putting a server browser into it, right? You're like custom games is what you're going to get. That's the only thing you're going to get. Oh, cool. That was what I tried to do the other day, and instead I hit and missed and got the building instead.
Well, it's funny actually. In fact, Nate Kitchen says, yeah, he wants to know, is there going to be a Halo 7? To be honest, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. What? Rin wants to know what happened to Halo 6. I don't know what happened to that one either. The interesting thing though, I mean, from the success of Destiny despite its flaws, and I'm curious about if and when there would be any adaptation or change, because Halo 5 does in fact has the investment in dedicated servers. They actually have them apparently. And the fact that when he said that's an investment we aren't going to be doing, I was curious as to what he meant by we. We as in Bungie, we as in Activision, we as both of them.
He doesn't speak for Activision.
I wouldn't think so.
Bungie.
So I'm just curious as to when the deal was struck between them for making this and the publication of it. Was dedicated servers not on the table ever? Was it discussed and people changed their minds? I'm just curious as to how and why the model that they picked. Was it a technical limitation? Was it a financial limitation? Was it a combination of the both? Was someone just of a better opinion or the better gameplay that they felt that people would have over, large distances in a global environment? I honestly don't know. And of the changes in deciding, things that the story happened with the entire Halo series, the fact that Halo 5, being the latest reiteration of a game that's been around since, at the end of 2001, does have dedicated servers. I'm curious as to the population density of those compared to what Destiny is, or even a comparable first-person shooter that does have dedicated servers. Do they own them? Do they rent them? And if so, does the population of it justify the cost of them? And are people more happy with that online gameplay than other titles? So all of those things I'd be terribly curious to find out about, and I'm not sure how much on the article it touched on any of those things, considering that its development and the history of the game itself, covered a lot of things when these weren't that much of a problem. The online multiplayer stuff had been new, only when Halo 2 came out, and it had its problems, but I wouldn't say to the extent that a lot of people are having them now with some even later ones. So yeah, and of course the gameplay here is progressing quite interestingly. Is Narc is scoffing, and
I think it was peer-to-peer because that's how Halo on consoles was always built, and I think also building out a network of worldwide servers for a new IP wasn't necessarily something that they said that they would prioritize. I mean, they were already doing so much new stuff. It didn't make sense to say, "Oh yeah, let's do that as well. Let's make a worldwide network of servers while we're doing this," which is also something we've never done.
Well, I wasn't sure if they would have to make them or whether they would simply be buying time on other people's that already exist. I don't know if that was explored at all. David said Halo 3 was the hardest on Legendary. I would think any game would be the hardest on Legendary.
I don't know. I would have thought. See, I would have thought Halo 2 because of Jackal Snipers maybe Halo 3's Legendary was the average was the hardest across the whole game, but I think the hardest individual segments might be. In
Now,
Halo
Nate
2.
Kitchens as an interesting
I think
thing.
you're
He
right.
says
and
Destiny
Halo
is a
2
less
has the
thought out
first-
Halo.
What?
No, Nate Kitchens in the comments, he said that Destiny is a less thought out Halo. And based on the first reiteration, I can't really say that that's too far off, considering the criticisms that the original story and its deployment was in game, where a lot of it was in backstory and grimoire and on website stuff rather than actually in the title. But
Post-migration
D2 obviously, is an example of what they're going to be changing. They've obviously made a big foray into doing something different and having a lot of the story elements be in game. So hopefully they'll learn from those particular mistakes.
No, I don't buy any of it.
Do you? It doesn't quite ring true for you? Because Narc just recently posted a video on some of the story elements that really resonated with him, and obviously it was enough to get him excited about it when seeing characters grow up and execute things that we hadn't seen before. Especially with some of the children that obviously had grown up around the tower, i.e., the little girls and Amanda and somebody had actually said that they saw Eris Morn in there as well, in one of the videos. Yeah, supposedly that is true. Supposedly it was over by Dead Orbit. Somebody in the back said that they saw Eris Morn, and I had looked for it, but they didn't have the same clip that I had, so I couldn't confirm it. But I'm surprised actually a lot of the community over DVO didn't pick up on it if it was actually there. So
Yeah, probably not there.
I'm sure somebody will confirm it at some point. But anyway, getting back over to some of the article stories, what exactly else did you want to talk about within the piece here? Because they cover a lot of people here. They cover Marty, they cover Alex, and Jamie, and Marcus, and Paul, and all Ed Freeze. All the old Bungie guys that have been around, for forever and a day, who lived and breathed this. So
I always called him Ed Fries.
As opposed to Freeze.
Those were the two bits that I wanted to bring up because those were, I think, the things that I didn't know about and had not heard from any other sources.
Well, I'm going to dig through and find out about the movie stuff. That of course, I think would be interesting to me.
There's really not a lot to say other than they were redoing the script and shopping it around, and no one was really biting. And basically,
of course,
they knew that it wasn't going to get made.
No, well, with an unknown IP and stuff, that's what makes me think that that's what Elysium was. Elysium, I think, was a test bed for that. There's so many elements in it that obviously you could tell that that's where the quote unquote inspiration was from the Halo universe. You could tell just by looking at it.
How did Elysium go? I don't remember that movie.
Well, obviously, if it wasn't that memorable, it was kind of a combination of a lot of films that he had done prior, plus some Halo component elements. Designs of weapons and armor, and the the mech style bodies that they had, as well as the actual functioning. Elysium was a Halo ring, in the low orbit of Earth. So. I think they wanted to prove that they could make something that looked and felt like it enough to justify the investment. I think they needed to prove to studios and the people that it could be done. Was there anything in there that, because there's really a lot, my god, this thing is absolutely huge. Any particular title or story that you found, Funkmon, that you found interesting in it?
I didn't know. A lot of us knew about Phoenix.
Yeah.
Obviously, Phoenix was essentially announced, right? It was one of those projects that they never released. But there was another side project in there somewhere. Like, I don't remember exactly where it was, but it might have been in between Halo 2 and Halo 3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's where it was. That I had never heard of. Can you find the name of that?
Was it one of the code words for the ODST run?
If we go back to replaying my film, I might be able to find it, but I'm probably spending too much time trying to stay alive in this game, which is really no point in doing that.
Yeah, Narc gets way too focused on these things sometimes. He's far more engrossed in the gameplay than to talk about it. Do you remember who was talking about it, Funk? Do you remember who had been quoted?
Some guy.
Well, that narrows it down. The
one of the people who used to work at Bungie.
Well, I hate to say it, but that's pretty much all of them at this point. In fact, I'd be curious if somebody could get a flow chart or an Excel spreadsheet. I could actually show the slow elimination of them by date and or time as far as when they actually left. So you could actually see and chart it out to see how the original Bungie population then and the current Bungie population now, and see how far the curve goes.
Some guy on the Xbox subreddit did one based on the Halo 3 Bungie team, which in my opinion is the last year we were looking at old Bungie.
Yeah.
Versus what Bungie is now. Though I know to a lot of people, I always bring this up and nobody cares, but to a lot of people, Bungie was dead when Alex left, you know?
Yeah, kind of. I can see how people would feel that way. I mean, obviously the history that fans and employees alike and the relationship they'd had over so long suddenly kind of took a massive left turn when that happened. So I can understand how they could feel that way.
And also, that kind of reminds me of something else that they were talking about, which is that Jason Jones was gone for
most of Halo
the entirety of Halo 3. And they didn't say they were hiding it, but I didn't know that at the time, and they heavily implied that they were hiding that, and that they also heavily implied that Jason Jones was still... I mean, he was the guy with the secret stuff, but really he was just happened to be the co-founder.
Yeah. So unfortunately,
there also
that run,
seemed
he was
to
kind of
be
phoning it in.
almost as well. I mean, he literally was not in the office anymore. He was just not there.
And
hence the phone.
And so
he literally was not there.
And so since Halo 2, it was this idea that he wanted to make Halo 2, but then got bored with it near the end, and then crunched really hard, and so was gone for most of Halo 3. And so you have this situation where it seems like the studio almost ran better without him there. Mm-hmm. And that even when he was there, he wasn't there because he would go off and try to do a side project while they were working on a sequel project, which makes me wonder in this whole thing that like this fight between Bungie and Marty, which was driven by Harold Ryan, who was in the position of president at the time, not leading a project, but wow, these brutes are going to kill me. I put the controller down now.
Well, it's funny. All I see is shots of somebody under a bridge right now. So
yeah,
I don't
that's
know how
me. I'm
entertaining
standing
that
under the bridge. I'm not doing anything. These brutes with
He's been
turrets.
hiding under there for a while.
Maybe you want to switch over to something else. Yeah, but you think maybe it was more personality driven as opposed to anything else, or some type of internal politics within the company?
Well, I just mean they were complaining about how there was nobody who was anointed to be the new leader when Jason wasn't around. But at the same time, you'd have to look like the one game in the series that absolutely doesn't have a huge development hell story to it is Halo 3.
Right.
I mean, it's not unfinished.
Well, at least that we know of.
It's not broken. It's not unpolished. It's a good game. It brings the series to a good conclusion. And from what we read, he's not. He's not there for it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of good, actually, Comrade Mike in the comments, he actually mentions, what is the best Halo game in your opinion? And out of all of them, I mean, you haven't played technically all of the games yet. I know Funk, you played them all, right?
Look, those last two
are
we
not really thinking that Halo 4 and 5 are in contention? I mean, this is an argument basically between 1 to 3, Reach, and ODST. And for
that's
me,
like who's the greatest quarterback of all time? Now remember, Tim Couch used to play in the league. It's just not even. Why mention him?
Yep. Well, for me personally, I was a huge fan of not only ODST but also of the original and the anniversary edition. I loved the original, and the anniversary edition gave me all the things I wanted, which of course bugged Narc. He thought it was they're just slapping a fresh coat of paint on it. I liked that there was a fresh coat of paint on it, and I love playing it with the old sound effects. I wasn't too thrilled with the new sound effects and the music, but I love the quality of the look with the old stuff. So when I play that, I would always play it with the new look, but the old sound and the old music. So it still had that ambiance. It still had that world immersion that I remember acoustically, because a lot of times the sound effects and the music are just as important, if not more so, than a lot of the gameplay and the special effects. But I love the fact that they took the old stuff and made it look good.
In Halo, it's hard to imagine the levels. It's hard to imagine, Truth and Reconciliation without a walk in the woods.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine that fight up the silent cartographer thing without the what is it, the rock anthem for saving the world or whatever.
Yep.
It's or the bridge fights on Assault on the Control Room without On a Pale Horse. It's impossible to imagine the game without those tracks.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think probably Halo 2 is the best Halo game.
Really?
Yeah, why would you say that?
Yeah.
Because to me, 2 was very jarring. It was the first different engine. They were doing Havoc instead of the original. It sound-wise was bringing a lot more, metal and guitars and whatever else. And like you said, rock anthem for saving the world and stuff. And they were doing popular music stuff and whatnot that I don't know, or I would feel that it quite fit. So really, you actually like 2 the best. Why would you say that 2 would be the best?
Campaign, in my opinion, is a piece of crap, and Halo 2 does not have a very good campaign.
No, it got very repetitive at the end, and of course the all-time Halo 2 ending going down in infamy for Halo fans who threw their controllers and screamed at the TV. What? That's it? I was one of those. I was at the midnight pickup of the game. I can remember going up to the mall with friends, picking it up at midnight, wanting to play this thing and bringing it back. And the very next day, I finished the campaign. And I was in shock. I was like, okay, where's the next bit? And then the credits started rolling. So
yeah, I didn't mind it. I honestly didn't mind the campaign ending. I didn't care. My parents picked me up at school, and I didn't ask for Halo 2. They just knew I really wanted it. Picked me up at school with the game, and then I played it, and I had to stop at quarantine zone to go to bed. And then the next day before school, I woke up early and finished it. I didn't mind, didn't care that much. But Halo 2 had the online multiplayer was so good.
Minus the glitches and all the problems we had.
That's part of it. That's part of it. It's honestly part of the fun.
Well, see, I think that was the experience because, Xbox Live killed the Halo LAN party, and I remember my first and still probably one of the best Halo LAN parties I had, driving down to Claude's in Connecticut where, we played for 50 hours one
just
weekend.
Used armor lock. Sorry.
Well, somebody had to. And the camaraderie and the experience of actually playing with people that you'd only met online before and in forums and stuff for the first time was fantastic. And with the addition of the online community and the expansion of a lot of the multiplayer games. In fact, the first one that I remember wasn't even Halo 2. It was actually Unreal Championship. That was actually the first foray into Xbox Live. And actually, the first year of Xbox Live, I didn't actually pay for it. I didn't have to. If you remember back in the day, you remember that DVD that I made with the fake trailer that I had done for a Halo movie and whatnot, and I'd made a DVD of that and brought it in.
Vaguely.
Yeah, I had actually sent one off to Bungie, and Dave Canland had actually saw it. And he jokingly wrote back, he says, hey, you want a job at Xbox Marketing? And I thought that was really, really cool. And what I found out was they had actually taken the disc and asked me to make one. Maybe he didn't, I don't know.
You idiot!
But he...
You complete moron.
What?
I should have gone out there, yeah. No, he had actually asked if I could send him a disc because they were having a party for their 1 millionth sale of the game. And I actually had cooked up one that had all three of my trailer. I did 3 separate trailers for the Halo movie. For those who want to check online for that, go ahead. It was actually pretty cool for the time. But to have that actually being showed in front of, Bungie employees and whatnot at the event was really awesome. And what he did as a thank you was he sent me, I think it was like 8 or 10 Xbox games. And these were all big titles at the time. These things were like $50 a pop. And I liked them so much, I didn't
that's
even
better than a
open
job.
them.
You made the right choice.
Well, yeah, getting paid in games, man. They could have sent me a 6-pack too. I would have been thrilled. But no, what I did is that I didn't even open them. Partly because they were titles I would never really be interested in playing. But the simple fact was,
Oh, did you get Barbie Horse Adventure?
no, actually, I got, what was that boat game that they had back in the day? It was like Blood something.
Bloodwake. That's a decent
that was
game.
one. Bloodwake was one. That's one of the only ones I remember. A couple of them were there. The sports games. They were all the Microsoft titles at the time. So if you want, we can go back and look. So yeah, so look back for 2000, 2001. Yeah, so I got all the they were like 8 or 10 of them. So I got all the Microsoft ones. So what I did was I actually returned those to I think it was either Electronic Boutique or it was GameStop at the time, and they gave me credit enough to get a year of Xbox Live and the headset kit and whatnot that came with it. So for my entire first year,
that's $100.
Yeah,
that's like $100 purchase.
Yeah, so I traded those games for that. And my entire first year of Xbox Live, I didn't play. And that's when Halo 2 came out. And that's when all the Unreal Championship friends that I had made over, the few weeks and months before that game came out, they all migrated. We all joined in. And then the HBO people came in. And that's where I met, Tarny and everybody else. So, yeah, no, I have great fond memories of the... I had 4,400 games of Halo 2, online. And that was a great experience. So I can understand why you would think that as far as the game enjoyment of. But title-wise, though, I can't really say that it was the best Halo game. It may have been the most fun you had with it, but I wouldn't put it up there.
It's definitely the game that I had the most fun with. You're right.
And well,
in hindsight,
to be honest,
definitely the best one is the original.
And well, thank you. And but the thing is that I think that's one of the reasons why that enjoyment has continued on with Destiny, because it may not be the best game. It still has all kinds of flaws. The netcode is definitely better than obviously this experience you guys are having now.
Yeah, this is rough.
So
this is rough.
It
I
puts
like
it
that
in
the
perspective.
game has decided that I'm a better host.
I know, and that's so sad because you're
maybe
on your neighbors
streaming.
or on your cell phone or both right now. I can't exactly tell.
I'm talking on my cell phone, but I'm playing the game through stolen neighbor internet.
Borrowed.
Shared. Without them knowing.
Communal,
yeah. It was a group thing. So that being said, I think the people that you play with, are very reflective to how your experience will be. And I think that the ease of how Destiny works, as opposed to some of the interesting connectivity issues and whatnot, and getting of parties together with Halo 2 at the time, is different. It's a lot easier now. Then obviously the performance has definitely improved. I think that is far more telling as far as the enjoyment level of it, more than reflective of the title itself and its quality or lack thereof.
Skating may be gone from Destiny 2, but it's live in Reach. I tell you that. This is. I feel like I'm playing Quake World.
You are kind of sliding over everywhere.
Yeah, it's very slidey.
Mm-hmm.
When does Firefight end?
It doesn't.
Firefight doesn't end.
No.
What?
This is the game that doesn't end. Yeah, the whole point of Firefight was to continue on through the difficulty levels until you got to a wave that you could not continue.
You could set. I forget if I put any kind of an end cap on this though.
No, you could set.
I've given us unlimited lives, but I don't think we've died in a long time because it's also set on easy.
Yeah, well, it's probably a good thing. Yeah, see, I like some of those games on Elite because then the weapons feel like actual lethal devices. Subjects don't feel like bullet sponges. So to me, that's a good thing. But anyway, yeah. So are there any other article bits that you wanted to actually touch on, Narc?
Not for me. I think that was pretty much what I wanted to bring up was that thing about the movie
Yeah, well,
and the Halo Chronicles game, and the bit about like why didn't they make a real remake? That was what I wanted to see them do. I wanted to see them use a modern engine and say, okay, how do we use this very different toolbox and this new engine to recreate faithfully the experience of playing Halo 2, instead of just saying, oh, let's put a new renderer on here so we can get some higher res textures. Like, to me, that wasn't worth it.
Yeah, now would you say that would be either lazy or easier, or it's just
I think it was
not
definitely
worth the
easier.
tiny
I
effort?
think it was definitely easier and cheaper for them to do it. They basically did a lowest bidder layer on top of the old game, and it partially was the safer route, because that meant that didn't have to touch the gameplay. The idea was, well, people are going to be pissed if any part of playing Halo 1 is different, even glitches. So they decided not to change anything.
Let's see. Well, in the chat, let's see. Yeah, Comrade loves your throws. Rin says Mark needs to work on his melee coordination. Well, he is out of practice. He hasn't had a chance to use that hammer
Forget the
very much.
Okay, so this
so
that's a good chance that's a good place to end this anyway. But come on, you see this lag? I mean, there's no way.
Oh yeah, it's
bothered to
beyond.
play
Oh, wait a minute, hold on.
on
I'm
even-
not done.
Mhm.
There was something. What do you guys think about the way the article seemed? It seemed that Marty and Jamie were right about everything. But
Oh,
I
God.
don't.
Please
Do you
don't
guys
tell
think
Jamie
it's
was
just
right about
their
anything.
personality? Like they're going to obviously talk about how they were right about everything, or do you think that they were really right about everything?
As far as the whole experience,
as far
or
as I can
their
tell,
experience, because
Marty
everyone.
can do no wrong.
I wouldn't say that at all. I've talked to him. Yeah, no, I
You
wouldn't
mean
say
in
that.
Marty's opinion, Marty can do no wrong?
Yeah,
or-
exactly. I would say that.
In Marty's opinion, Marty can do no wrong, but I have seen no evidence that he's done wrong. I own.
Marty's a Republican.
Jamie, on the
What do you
other
want?
hand-
So you mean it was his intention to become terminated and to end up having to fight a legal battle over his Bungie stock, over the use of third-party music and promotional materials, because that's
It was
what
all
happened.
part of the plan.
See, I don't know. I don't know
mean,
what's going on with that.
Yeah. Actually, does anybody? I mean, did you guys cover that part in the article?
No, actually, there's
didn't talk
almost
about it in the
nothing
article.
in the article
I wouldn't think that
about
they
the dispute
would.
over Destiny.
Yeah, right.
Although Marty actually, I think, get in kind of like a sideways reference to it.
You put in
Hold
a
on a
dig
second.
somewhere? Narc's going to take a look and see if he can dig something else. Rin says you should at least play on hard. But I'm like, if they were to do that, all it would mean is that their deaths would
They'd
simply
be dead.
increase exponentially. I don't know how good that would actually work. At least not for the gameplay portion of it.
Oh God, we're doing it again.
Well, hey, you could always try.
You said you weren't done, and people wanted to see us play on heroic.
Oh, this is
okay.
gonna
So
be
good
bad.
luck with that.
Oh man, are you gonna do the same map? Maybe you should try a different map.
No, it's a different map.
Yeah, this is a
Okay,
different
you're
map.
gonna do
Different map. It's
Beachhead?
the one.
Well, to be honest, I like all the firefight maps in ODST better than like any of the ones in this.
Really?
Yeah, I
Oh.
thought ODST. That's the weird part about ODST, and it's something that I think maybe they should have. They're trying to move Halo to this yearly release cycle. Maybe not maybe not like Halo 4 and then Halo 5 every year, but
Right.
they want to have a Halo title every year.
Ugh.
And they don't seem
That's a
to have
tight
learned
schedule.
from ODST being put together by a team of 15 guys, considered by most fans to be one of the best Halo games out there.
Oh,
Why couldn't they just
playable?
do an expansion pack thing for their Halo 4 engine or their Halo 5 engine
Yeah.
and do something like that? Because they've already got all the problems worked out. And then they can be creative.
They do mention in the
mean-
article that was the one and only time that they ever worked on a second game for the same engine. That all the
Really?
other games
And- okay.
have usually involved incremental, if not revolutionary, changes in their engine. Like the Marathon 1 and 2 engines are not the same. Marathon Infinity was done by another team.
Wait a minute. Marathon 1 and 2 didn't have the same engine?
No.
Those games were basically identical.
There are similarities, but those engines are not the same. The Marathon 1 engine, in fact, is lost. The Marathon 2 and Infinity engines are basically the same.
Well, it's funny
there are
because we've
changes
actually
from Myth
had
1
this-
to Myth 2, significant ones.
Yeah, we've actually had
big
this
deal,
point come
big
up
deal there.
because, for me personally, because I think we talked about the release dates and times for when they put out titles, and we couldn't understand, or at least I couldn't understand at the time, as to why they didn't say it. If they were under the gun for certain things, why didn't they segment stuff? Why didn't they keep the engine they were using and simply develop more content? Why did they have to constantly say, hey, we're going to be redoing the engine again, just for shits and giggles?
Because I think...
Well, they're those type of people who want to do... They're not the Assassin's Creed put out a new story once a year. To Bungie, it seems always like... Weirdly, they've had very good stories in their games, with the exception of Destiny, but to them it's always been, what are we going to do now that's new and interesting? They revolutionized first-person shooters with Halo. They basically invented the real-time tactics genre. They've totally changed how MMOs are going to be from going forward with Destiny, in my opinion.
They're certainly influencing a large segment of it, or at least a large generation of fans and game players. I would say that.
I think part of the answer is that Jason Jones was a programmer and not an artist. So for him to go on to a new project and not iterate on the engine means, well, what am I doing? I think if you look at head counts now, I don't know about managerial control, but based on head counts, it seems like the needs of producing Destiny have made Bungie more of an artist. Maybe not artist driven, but definitely artist heavy. I mean, you think of what has to go on, right? I mean, you've got all these assets that you have to create all the time, all these weapons.
Well, it's the look and the feel, right? It's the look and the feel, and how, when gamers want something, they want the latest and greatest, they want the higher quality, they want higher frame rates, they want. And that I understand. But at some point, especially in game developing, though, if they were working on the series, though, does it make more sense to come out with a whole new revolutionary game every 3 years when you could come out with smaller, tighter regular games like once every 6 months, or come out with an expansion pack or levels or components or story expansion in the interim? I mean, why do we have to reinvent the wheel? It's one thing to make a car in a car company where you need a manufacturer to make the plant to make the cars. Well, great. You want to come up with a new model car. Fine. We'll refine the factory. Why do we have to rebuild the whole factory from scratch just to make a whole new car? You know what I mean? So I understand certain elements of it, but from a release standpoint, I remember at the time, the length of time in between titles and the content that was packed into the single releases, I think there was a discrepancy in there where people either expected more or wanted more, or they couldn't understand why they kept pushing these things as hard as they were, where the graphical changes and whatnot over a certain amount of time didn't really justify it. There wasn't anything super revolutionary. I mean, I remember the bump mapping with Halo 2 they talked about when they went from the lighting effects and whatnot, where they flipped over the ghost and you got a chance to see the underside saying, hey, this is with the bump mapping and this is with it on and this is with it off. Yeah, exactly. Everything in their cousin is bump mapped now, So I remember all that. But at the same time, I can remember, like, excuse me, I would rather just have more levels here. I would like to have more things going on, more things to play, more things to do. You know what I mean?
Or maybe less texture pop.
Oh my god, the texture pop.
I do know what you mean.
I hate texture pop.
I think that part of the thing, part of what made Halo so valuable for those 3 games was the fact that every time we got a new Halo, we got something completely insanely new. With Forge mode, no one had ever had a level editor that easy to use that was that powerful in Halo 3. And then console...
With a controller, though. I mean...
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Give me a mouse and a keyboard, man.
But the beautiful part about it was that you didn't need the mouse and the keyboard.
Oh no, I know. It's just from all the elements they put in. And like you said, it was so powerful though, and you could do so much with it. I just wanted something that gave me more control over things, more
like
precision.
The Halo editing kit.
Yeah, exactly. So
from the PC version.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's part of the thing that made Halo so valuable. That's why people were all excited about the new game every time. And there was never really you never heard people say, "Oh God, another Halo game."
Yeah.
Whereas with games where they don't change the engine but put out more stuff, like what are some of them? Call of Duty, they do change the engine every time.
Yeah.
They've got 3 developers, right?
I just personally, from my
what's one of
taste,
those games?
yeah, what they just cranks out a new title and the same stuff over and over again. I mean, I
guess Assassin's Creed or something.
Any of the sports games. I mean, there's tons of sports game series that they literally just crank out a new title every 6 months or a year. So, I mean, any one of those, I don't know how much revolutionary underpinnings have been changed.
Essentially none, but also people totally complain about them, and without exclusivity deals, those games would be in trouble, and they'd also cost less. For example, when NFL didn't have, when EA didn't have an exclusivity deal with the NFL, there was the 2K Sports Series, which currently has one with the NBA. The 2K Sports Series released their NFL video games for $20.
Yeah,
for a few years before EA totally shut them out with the exclusivity thing.
Well, it's so sad that exclusivity is actually becoming such a big thing now, and is such a driver not only in titles but also console sales, where everyone out there is trying to get those deals to push people to one or the other. Phil Mysterious says they should make a Marathon 4 PFHOR Rise of the Vidmaster. And it should be a biography.
Oh man, the Destiny contract does include provisions for if Destiny hits its financial targets for committing a certain amount of resources to the creation of a marathon game. It doesn't specify much more about what that would or could be. But I don't know. I wonder the question of, like, is that what Jason Jones is working on now? I don't know.
I'd be curious to find out.
Maybe, and if anyone's working on it, it's him.
Yes.
Because he's the only one
who would be pushing
who remembers it.
We do. And if anybody wants to check on Rampancy.net's entire series of going through the old Marathon and early Bungie titles, feel free to check us out at Rampancy.net.
Is Ferrex still there? Is Ferrex still there?
I don't know. That's a good question. In fact, if you actually check the... there's actually a wiki about our website and whatnot that actually showcases Ferrex and whatnot as the original webmasters for Rampancy.net.
Yeah, Ferrex is still at Bungie. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. So maybe he'll push it.
Hey,
as long as Ferrex is there,
you think
we might get some kind of marathon or myth game. Oh no, Take-Two owns myth.
Yeah, Take-Two owns myth, so that's kind of a non-starter, at least for the moment.
Sadly, myth fans.
I suppose there's always a possibility that if somebody at Bungie wanted to, they could make Take-Two an offer. What are we going to do?
Likelihood, though.
Probably let them develop. Dude, I'm in the lobby. I don't know. It kicked me out of your game.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. Well, no wonder it's been so smooth. You've been playing by yourself.
It's still not that smooth.
No, it's not, but it has actually had some improvements. To be honest, though, I would love a new Marathon game. I would love, to be honest, to have somebody redo the old Marathons in a new engine with a modern format and modern gameplay like Destiny or like Halo. I think that would be fantastic.
Have you played Black Mesa Source? Or whatever they're calling it now?
No, I have not yet. And do say yet. Narc and I are actually going to be finishing up the original Marathon series expansions, though. We are going to be doing those at some point.
They had expansions?
Yeah, they were actually fan-made.
Like those
third-party mods.
Yeah. No, not anything official and whatnot, but some of them are quite extensive and elaborate. And they were a lot of fun.
All of them are really hard, right?
Yes,
there weren't any easy ones.
Rubicon and Eternal, I think, are both harder than the main
title. Yeah. was, and,
And for
we are
my
going to
money,
be
Infinity
finishing
is
those.
harder than Marathon 2.
Mm-hmm. And we went through that. Now, actually,
They're so hard. I find it difficult to beat any of those games on what kindergarten or whatever lowest level is. I'm not good at video games, and especially if you've got like piston puzzles where you got to shoot a grenade at a switch. I'm done.
Yep.
Come on.
Aw. To me, it was the jumping. I always found the jumping so frustrating.
Oh my god!
Especially with the
Oh
sliding.
yeah.
I have to boot you to play a film.
Wow. It won't be the first time. It's funny looking at that symbol though on the actual application. All I can think of is Red Ring of Death. Though when I see it, it's got the the original, 4-part circle next to Narcogen to show which controller is using on the Xbox. That shows your interface designs that have changed. Pion4, he actually says, yeah, he's keen to see some more marathon videos. Yeah, we are going to be doing some more of those in the future.
Yeah, Rubicon.
In fact, which Rubicon is what we're going to be doing?
Rubicon and Eternal are the last two big ones. I think we'll probably do Rubicon first, and then Eternal. I don't know
how many
exactly
levels that
when
is?
we'll start them. It will definitely not be before we finish Myth 2. And of course,
Yeah.
Myth 2 has its own expansions. I don't know when we will get to them.
We're almost finished, though, with Myth 2 right now.
Yeah, we're nearing the end of Myth 2.
Are you gonna play Myth 3?
Are we?
I don't know. I think I would probably want to do like Chimera first.
Okay.
I've never actually played Myth 3, so that would be a blind playthrough for me.
Hey, that might not be a bad thing, because a lot of the ones that we go through, you're reliving, and I'm enjoying for the first time. So for us to go through a new one of those where
Bill
neither of us
Mysterious
have played
says,
it.
I made 3 single-player maps for Marathon. Would you guys play them? I don't know. Maybe. What three maps are they, Bill?
I
Dude.
wouldn't say why not.
Yeah, just play them. Play them right now.
Play them right now. Yeah, I'll just load them up. Hold on, I'll get a floppy. Yeah, the ones that we have done were, I'm trying to think how long it actually took us, because some of them are 50 plus videos, so they were quite extensive, and we went through the whole things. We didn't skip very much. So maybe going through the other ones we might actually go through a couple of them a little bit faster, so people could digest them a little easier. Ren actually says he's loving Thimbleweed Park. Thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're actually, I'm not sure exactly how far through Thimbleweed we're going through. It's not the most popular one that we're doing, but Narc and I both have an incredible soft spot for the old school point and click adventure games. I can remember many a time leaning over Narc's shoulder, watching him do playthroughs on those in the old Commodore Amigas, and I can remember a few myself. That I had
Thimbleweed is
done.
probably going to go to 3 episodes a week soon. They're
Oh,
probably
cool.
they're probably going to stay kind of short, like 15 to 25 minutes most of the time. But yeah, even just editing those, I was like, yeah, I want to play that again some more.
Well, the length of those I think are actually good. Oh, Ryan Lee says hi and goes, "Hey, what's up?" On my friends with the YouTube account. Cool. Oh, it's Roacon. Oh my God. Hey Ryan, what's happening? Roacon 27. He's in the chat right now. We want to give a big shout out to him. Him and his cohort, Beast the Fourth. They're the ones that actually took me through on my play and lovely carry to the Lighthouse. My last 2 characters. So big thank you for them, and thanks for showing up in this. I hope you guys are enjoying. Sorry you guys had a chance to see us before. I got a chance to see Narcogen and Funk fumbling through this. The gameplay is actually getting a little smoother though, so
Well, this
hopefully
is a
people
film.
are enjoying that.
That's a
This
film.
is film playback now.
That's why it's beautiful. So hopefully the stuttering will be down to a minimum.
I'm playing single player.
Is that what you're doing right now, Funk? We'll have to
Yeah.
switch to your camera at some point too. We'll see if we can download the film. Yeah, actually, was there sharing for those things? If I recall, you can actually
Yeah,
download
there
other
is.
people's films. Yeah, so that
There
is
still is, I think. I mean,
something we could switch to his camera at some point too. I wasn't sure if you
I'm
could still
watching
share them
Funk's
through the interface.
camera right now.
Is it?
Yeah, it's on the stream.
Awesome.
He was about to go up against a tank with an AR. I thought that would be.
Well, he's tossing grenades
How I do
terribly
things.
comedically and getting splattered there. That's awesome. Anyway, okay. So as far as the whole series goes and what we're going to be doing in the future, I'm trying to think because we've only got a few more left of Myth 2. Thimbleweed, we're definitely making rapid progress. I mean, I think the last couple of videos that we did were pretty good. We've also been doing, for people who've been watching, we went through the entire series of Mass Effect, and after 1, 2, and 3, we actually started doing Andromeda. And Narc and I have not been enjoying that as much as we'd like, and we're trying to find an exit for that, actually. So if anybody has any ideas on how we could pull the ripcord on that, because I know people are still watching it, and I do want to know how it actually ends. I want to give it a fair shake. But at the same time, though, it seems to have gotten terribly laborious.
I think there are people by now who have finished it, and again, I have a plan that I'm still working on. We did a big several-hour wrap-up of the original Mass Effect trilogy, focusing mostly on the ending, and Jilly Bean and Malagate joined us for that, and I want to have them back for what I think might end up being our final play session on Andromeda. So I think we're probably not gonna. We very well may not finish the game. I guess I'm looking to see if either one of them can tell me no, it gets better. Keep playing. I don't know if they're going to be able to say that.
Yeah, well, I don't think we've actually gotten to that point yet. I'm just wondering if maybe if we were to grab some highlights, if we were to actually get into some of the major plot points and go through those rather than just a mission by mission or a level by level playthrough. So maybe we could find some time where we can actually go through it all.
Yeah, but unfortunately that actually takes more time.
And taking out the minutiae.
That actually takes more time to do.
Let's play Wikipedia plot summary.
Pie and Forces, maybe you could watch someone else Let's Play it Andromeda. I don't know. That might not be a bad idea. The pieces and the components of the game that we need to go through to progress the storyline, because we've never done it before or have seen anybody else's Let's Play, because both of us have gone through this fresh and for the first time. So I think maybe that might be slowing us down a bit, because Narc had already gone through the Mass Effect series for the most part, had done all the major details and knew what to do, and we had actually followed the step-by-steps for my playthrough, so we knew exactly where to go and what to do. And here we don't have that. So maybe that is something we should change. Maybe actually going through somebody else's play-by-play might actually help us speed it up a little bit. You know? I mean, because obviously you and I aren't enjoying it that much. It's obviously not that popular. And since the IP has been shelved, we know that it's not going to be going anywhere after this anyway. Yeah, didn't you hear about that?
Yeah, they announced, which I guess basically is just, I mean, like when somebody has a successful title, you know, they seem to announce a sequel, you know, within a matter of weeks. And,
right, usually based on points of marketing and money.
A lot of the critical I don't know anything about the sales figures, but given that the critical reception was not that great.
Oh no, it was low. The sales were low.
I guess they had to make I guess they felt they had to make some kind of an announcement in lieu of a sequel. So it was kind of like, we're putting this on hiatus, which means we're reevaluating, meaning that I guess they're probably not going to do a straight up sequel to Andromeda. I don't know what that will mean. Does that mean they just won't do anything for it for a while, or does it mean they'll be like, no, we have to go back and bring Shepard back from the dead and do a real Mass Effect 4? You know, will they conclude that the reason why it failed was because there was no Shepard and no Rex and no characters? I don't know.
I think it's because the writing was not the greatest, and they outsourced some of the major animation components that ruined the immersion. So I think those were the two big ones.
That's what you think, but you got to remember these are dumb executives.
That are obviously making decisions based on components that don't translate to the actual player's perspective or experience. They're thinking of financial marks, they're thinking of release dates, they're thinking of how much for how much, what's going to be changing their bottom line and ROIs. Their concerns aren't our concerns as players. So obviously, they had made some financial decisions on outsourcing things to keep things under budget, and they thought would be fine. And then when they finally get them back, they realized, no, this isn't working. And obviously, it was a major flaw in how the game was received, and that, of course, translates to lack of sales and joke videos, and it's basically its whole perception as a whole, which is sad because I can remember getting so excited for it, and the fact that it was one of the most beloved sci-fi series of all times, even despite the massive flaws that people had experienced with the third's ending. So yeah, Phil Mysterious says Andromeda failed because there was no Master Chief. So I don't know if that's a factor. But yeah, I just feel sad that it ended up that way, but I don't feel comfortable completely abandoning it, saying, oh, this game's terrible, let's just stop playing. I want to finish it at least once. I want to give it its fair shake and say, okay, it's bad, but we got through it. You know what I mean? I mean, all the games we've done so far, we haven't not played through one except The Crew, which we just played to make fun of anyway.
And they've announced a sequel to that.
I know, which, God, we have to make fun of that too, I swear. And you know, what's really going to be the bummer if that game actually isn't terrible, which I don't see how it could be not terrible.
They ruined Mass Effect when they made me play as the Arbiter.
You think? So yeah, so at some point, yeah, I would love to wrap it up, but there are so many other things coming down the pike, especially Destiny 2. We are going to be eating, living, breathing Destiny 2 for a very, very long time.
Oh my God!
Everyone in their
imagine.
Yeah, everyone and their cousin is going to be doing the same. So that I know is going to be taking a vast majority of our time. In fact, I think we're going to be trying to do as many live components of this as possible, so that we don't have to worry too much about post. Because Narc is a big post production guy. He loves to tweak everything ad infinitum. So hopefully for the fans in the future and for what we do, the more that we can get higher quality live streams, the better, because we'll be able to get the content out to fans and to viewers quicker, and also of higher quality and more often.
Yeah, I was also thinking that maybe we might want to try to do like one live thing a week, even if it's kind of a low impact thing like this.
That would be great.
We're just kind of shooting the breeze and messing around in an old game.
Yeah, no, I would love to do that.
Oh,
that would
like
be nice.
running.
I mean, it is too bad, and like I said, it's a testament to what Bungie was able to do with Destiny that Patrol doesn't look like this.
Yeah,
this is crazy, and this
well,
is
one might argue
this is
that Patrol
modem
is like
levels
this. You
of
just
lag.
have to drive more.
Playing across the planet introduces the same amount of lag on a fiber connection that normally you would get from an old analog modem. You're talking 200 to 300 milliseconds.
Yeah.
And with Destiny's setup, it works. It doesn't work that well for PvP, but it works pretty well for PvE. And this is just PvE, obviously with some kind of hybrid of Halo's network model. It's not quite it's not the way campaign works, because a regular campaign co-op is absolutely unplayable. It tries to keep everything in sync and is unplayable as a result.
Well, I remember games that you and me and Funk had actually done where we completely got out of sync, and it was hysterical when it did happen. So,
and although my memory of playing ODST Firefight was that it worked better than this. Maybe that's just
the maps were a lot smaller.
Yeah,
I don't know, but Uplift, the one we played a lot of was Uplift Preserve, which was pretty big, and it had lots of vehicles on it.
Yeah,
I remember when we
map.
first tried to play Halo 3 co-op, and it was so disappointing when it turned into a slideshow as soon as the cutscene fired up.
Yeah,
and my heart sank.
That was so disappointing, because I was thinking that it would be playable, and it doesn't look like it doesn't look like anything they did to any of the anniversary editions or Master Chief Collection have touched that code at all, because it's no better.
Yep. Ryan says, "I wonder what Destiny 2 will taste like." I don't
know.
I wonder too.
It depends on if they release a Switch version.
Do you think there will be?
No.
I certainly hope not. I can't imagine somebody being addicted that much that you would need a Switch.
I would buy a Switch.
Really?
I would buy a Switch if Destiny came out on a Switch.
You would.
Absolutely.
You seriously would.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the Switch, but probably not enough to buy one.
I would think you would want a projector to put it like on the observatory ceiling or something.
I have no attachment, emotional, nostalgic, or otherwise, to any Nintendo properties the way a lot of people do, because we never owned any of those consoles.
Yeah, see that's funny. Yeah, maybe
we were Amiga 500 You know, for the whole post Nintendo home console era, we were on the Amiga. So we
well, the funny thing is, we started out with for like full disclosure, the first was the Magnavox, the Magnavox Odyssey.
We didn't have an
was
Odyssey.
Technically first.
That was
we did.
No, we didn't. That machine that we had, I have looked and tried to find out what that machine is.
What the yellow one? It was a fake one. It was a knockoff or something.
It was not an Odyssey. It did not take cartridges. It was one of these things that had, you know,
it was a yellow Pong device.
Tennis,
that's what
hockey,
it was.
Soccer, which were basically all just color cycled, slight modifications of Pong. Played with paddles.
It was a knockoff.
You know, bad switches on the side of it for buttons.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible.
I have looked at a lot of the retro console pages to try and figure out what was
Me too.
that. It was some kind of Sears branded thing or otherwise.
I haven't found it myself either. Yeah, I was never able to find it, so I just call it a Magnavox Odyssey because it's the only thing you can look up. But after that was the Atari 2600, and our neighbor Jason, he had the Intellivision. His dad bought him the Apple II, and we had the Commodore 64. And we actually went through several Commodore 64s.
Yeah.
We went through like 3 or 4 of those puppies.
Kept frying.
Yep. Well, I that was my mistake. I actually stuck the power port into one of the DIN plugs and fried the thing, and I felt really, really bad.
Rin wants to know that, though. But one time we actually brought it down and plugged it into the big home TV to try and play Ball Blazer on it, and there was just no room for it for the 1541 and the power supply and the thing. And I think what I ended up doing is that I ended up like pulling the drawers of the cabinet in front of the TV out and resting it on that. And so I had I think the power brick and the disk drive, and then put the CPU on top of it, and I think they heat fried it.
I wouldn't be surprised. Rin wants to know, does anybody remember the Dreamcast? And to be honest, my only Dreamcast experience was at a Halo LAN. Believe it or not, over at Claude's, there was a Dreamcast that was upstairs that Mig and his son were playing on, and I actually played some games with Mig's son on it, and that was the only Dreamcast experience I had, because after the Amiga, the only other big console, because we had some of the video games for that for the longest time, and I think in '96 is when I got the Power Mac 6100 from you when we were playing Marathon, and I think around that time, I got to double check, but Alien Trilogy had come out. And I was a huge diehard Aliens fan, I mean, I if you go back, somebody out there go look on YouTube for the original Aliens game on the Commodore 64, and I'll tell you, like, one of the best video game experiences of my young childhood.
You were such a child of the 80s.
Oh my God, was I ever. I mean, to give you an idea, if you look up that video game, Aliens on the Commodore it was like 6 games in one. I mean, it was incredible. It followed the entire movie that you could play along. And I love that thing so much. I had actually grabbed my VHS copy of it and dubbed onto Memorex tape the segments of the movie that matched up with the game, and edited them in such a way that you could actually play that along and hear the movie music and dialogue of the film while you were playing the video game. It was beyond immersive. It was fantastic. And
you are one pathetic loser.
It was unbelievably cool for the day. In fact, so much so.
Wait till we tell you what we did with our Star Wars trading cards.
Oh, we got the Star Wars trading cards.
To get back to the Dreamcast, though, the only connection I have to the Dreamcast is that the last third-party news writer we had for Rampancy, which was probably over 10 years ago, quit because I called the Dreamcast a failure and I wouldn't take it back. That was a crap.
What year was it?
Oh my God, I don't remember. And it wasn't even like I was saying it was bad. I'm just saying, like, look, it was a financial non-success, and its non-success caused its maker to quit making consoles altogether and become a software-only developer. It's like you can say it's good and it did this well and it did that well, and it's ahead of its time with its integrated modem, and all that is true, but it failed. And he was like,
well, they're
I am out of here,
fans of it,
and never came back.
Well, the perfect example.
That was a crappa.
The writer.
That was a crappa, and it kind of ticked me off because he was the reason why all headlines are title case even for small words and prepositions and stuff, is because he insisted on that. And basically,
Absolutely
he
insisted.
wouldn't post news for us unless we did that. And I still follow that style now because I wanted it all to be the same.
Yeah, we had to be uniform.
And then he quit when I besmirched the name of the Dreamcast.
Well, I mean, the perfect comparison I would think would be the DeLorean. You know, it was a horrible car that failed miserably, but the diehard fans of it are massive.
So the Star Wars cards, I was actually telling a story to my wife the other day about like the way we treat collectibles, because lots of people would take something that would end up being valuable like that and would keep it in the plastic and put it in a box or in a humidor or something.
Yeah, we could go back in time.
We actually took out. There was like an audio like a vinyl record that you could get in the local library that had music and sound effects from the Star Wars movie, the original, along with someone like reading, like an audiobook reading of it. You know, like
yeah,
it wasn't
33 RPM.
It wasn't the actors from the movie. It was somebody else.
Right.
So it was like an audio drama. It was like a Star Wars audio drama. I think it was like 30 minutes aside on a vinyl LP. So we made a tape of that, and then we took this thing that we had gotten, I think, from our grandfather's house, which was like a magnifying projector for people who have bad eyesight. It's just like a little Fresnel lens and a light bulb inside a plastic case, and you literally like would put a book or a magazine down on a table, and you would put this thing on top of it and turn the light bulb on, and it would project the item big on the wall. So then we went through the whole collection of Star Wars cards and picked out images,
all the ones that matched,
and put them in sequence, and then we stapled them together to make like a film strip.
Yep.
So what you would do is then you would put on the tape of the album, and you would then gently pull this long stapled strip of trading cards underneath the projector.
Original ones.
So it was kind of like
78.
watching the movie at home, because at this time we did not have a VHS. There was no such thing as a home movie. The only place you could watch Star Wars on television at the time, I think, was on cable on HBO, which we did not have.
Yeah.
So anyway,
so
that's why we have no valuable Star Wars trading cards in mint condition, because they got stapled.
Yeah, somebody put thousands and thousands of staples through those.
You know what?
Hundreds.
You know what? If you don't, you're not going to use them. Why have them?
Okay, well, I don't know if you guys want to wrap this thing up, or if there's anything else that you want to talk about.
We'll call that for now. And
wait, hold on. There was something I wanted to complain about.
Oh, there was? Okay, go ahead.
I don't remember what it was. I know. There's something nagging at me that I haven't complained about yet, but I should have complained about.
Was it something about Halo?
Yeah, something from the article.
Do you remember who said it? Was it something with Marty?
Ooh, might have been something with Marty.
Frank? Kiki? Dan?
Oh, right. Okay, well, this isn't what I was thinking about, but it is something. So, do you guys think that the stuff... Do you guys think that the...
It's okay, Funkmon. Use your words. Something. Do we think?
Do you guys think that...
You may have been drinking, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on.
Jason Jones, judging by these former Bungie employees who maybe have a reason to be mean about it, do you think that maybe Jason Jones has been detrimental to Bungie's video gaming success?
You mean as far as a person, as far as his working relationship, as far as his decision making, or
if you want to talk
lack
about
thereof?
Yes.
The totality of a person's influence, I would say no. If you want to say, has Jason Jones ever or sometimes done things that may have been detrimental in terms of, if he had done something differently, would things have worked out better? Sure, I don't think he's alone on that. I mean, at this point, what do you think would be better for Bungie as a whole? If Marty had won his battle and so that only his music was featured in advertising, or that
Yes.
he still be working at the studio? Like, if you had to
Yes.
choose between those two things.
Yes. I can't have them both.
It's not, no, you can't. You can't. I think reality has shown us that you cannot have them both. So the question is, it's like if you had to say no, Marty's music is the only music that is in any advertising, or if the whole thing had just gone away and Marty was still working with the studio making music. I mean, which one of those two things is better? Obviously, ideally, we know that Marty wanted both, and that at the start of the dispute, it seemed like all the management team wanted both. They wrote a letter to Activision saying, "This is not cool," and Activision said, "Yeah, we've read the contract. We are doing what we want." And it seems like people let it drop at that point, and Marty did not. So I don't know. Like, would it be better if Jason Jones was project lead on every project? Maybe. I don't know how much programming he's done on it. I think there's some people that settle into higher ranked roles as things get bigger and are no longer working on day-to-day coding. I have no idea whether that is true of Jones or not. Like, I mean, did he write a lot of code on Destiny, or was he operating on a different level? I have no idea. Hardly anyone does, because he doesn't talk about that kind of stuff. And even this article doesn't mention that much on what he was doing high level for later projects. I mean, he was definitely involved in the day-to-day coding in a big way on Marathon and Myth when Bungie was a much smaller company, and probably also on Halo 1 at the very least. Probably Halo 2. Beyond that, we don't know.
It seems to me, well, from this thing, it seems to me that they were trying to. Maybe they weren't trying to. They kind of painted him as being a troublemaker for all the people who were just trying to get the games done. But the people who were kind of complaining about how he was handling things, not giving. The people who were complaining about how he was handling things didn't seem to catch on that Jason Jones seemed to. I mean, he picked the projects, and so far, every one of those projects that Bungie has released has been highly successful. Some may argue about Destiny, but certainly not Activision's pocketbooks. So I wonder.
So you're saying they should have stuck with the boss because he had picked a direction that the company took that was a successful one, and therefore they should have trusted the boss more? Or was it more that they felt that maybe he was the George Lucas of the team, where the direction he was going in and the decisions that he was making was not helpful for the day-to-day operations?
That sounds right. It sounds like they think he's George Lucas.
Yeah, would you consider him that? I mean, would the parallel
Steven
be apropos? Spielberg, huh?
Yeah.
I just don't know how annoying Spielberg is. Lucas's annoyance is well established. So I don't know how well your parallel works, but yeah, it's just
okay. I think he might be George Lucas, but good.
Is that possible?
I don't know. Like most of the time when you've got a professional relationship with somebody and he does crap that annoys you and he's really good at his job, then you tend to not complain about the stuff that annoys you as much because he's really good at his job.
Well, or you let it slide. It's you want to get things done so you don't rock the boat too much.
Maybe the journalist guy. Well, no, because these guys left at some point. And they left because of the problems that were caused by. Maybe they think. I don't know. Like. I don't know. It seems strange to me that they had all this great success in these video games, and they're pinning it on this guy. Kind of. But that that guy is the guy who got them to do these video games.
In the
Well, I
first
guess in the
place.
same, I guess maybe, you know, hypothetically, if you're building pyramids with slave labor, you probably would want to quit that job, even if you think pyramids are cool. Maybe that's
Yeah,
what it is.
the result was sufficient, but it's one of those things like does the end justify the means, or it could have been that the games would have just been as successful as they were, but the handling them and the people behind them could have been different and far more enjoyable. I mean.
Well, I think it's- I
Obviously,
think it's
there's a lot of blood spilled making these things. There's no other way around it a lot of times.
I think it's a lot like films. I mean, these are projects that can't be done with
By yourself.
By yourself.
I
mean,
yeah,
it's-
the game of single-player game design is very, very rare in these days.
And it's difficult to know, especially if you are if you're working at a publisher or something like that, to figure out what determines whether a game is going to be good or not. And so you fall back kind of on an auteur model that says this guy has made a game which is good. So Bungie was identified at the time that Microsoft was looking to make the Xbox as a company that knew how to make good games, since that they had 2 series of games in Marathon and Myth. And if you wanted to say, well, okay, but these weren't earth-burning titles that made millions of dollars, you could just say, well, yeah, because they were on the Mac. I mean, there wasn't 10 million copies to be sold.
Yeah, the market depth was a lot smaller. You had an audience that was only of such a size.
And once you've had Halo 1 and you realize, hey, our platform wouldn't exist anymore without this game,
right? Without the console
it's a no-brainer
world.
to make it into a franchise. And so then you put Jason Jones in a position where he's already said, I don't like sequels. We generally make one sequel for each one of our games, and I'm not involved that much in making it because I've moved on to what's going to be the next thing already.
Right.
And then it just seems once Halo hits, it becomes impossible to do that because nothing
They become
ever
victims
comes.
of their own success.
Yeah. None of the other games that they prototyped ever got released because they weren't viewed as being good enough. And every time they would have tried to switch to making it, there was crunch time on a Halo game to be made, and so everybody just gets thrown back at it when crunch time hits.
Well,
if they're able to successfully make a Marathon game now while working on Destiny 2/3, it'll be the first time they've managed to do it, other than when Oni and Halo shipped kind of within close proximity to each other. But I think that plenty of people say that was not exactly a smooth ride either.
No, and I'd be curious if they actually were to do that, because like you said before, they've always been about the next new thing, the next big thing, the next story, the next universe, the next whatever, as opposed to retreading old stuff. They're not big into redoing their own things. In fact, to be honest, I think the anniversary editions of Halo, which I don't think were really pioneered or pushed by them, is the only thing that's really been retread or updated for a modern world, that I can recall anyway. Well, anyway, I think that just about wraps up for everything that we wanted to talk about this. I'd like to thank everyone who joined us in the chat, and for everyone out there that was watching, we certainly appreciate it. And if you'd like to, please post in the comments down below what you thought of this, and hopefully we will be doing a regular series at some point, possibly once a week, so hopefully you'll get a chance to join us for that. But keep checking us out here, and also visit rampancy.net for all of the updates on all the new material that we're going to be coming out. I am Blackstar, along with Narcogen, and thank Funkmon for coming in as well. We hope to all catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.
Is it over?
Oh, can you post for Pi and 4? Thank you. You sure? I still see... Skip ahead to live broadcast. Why do I still see you playing?
I'll still be playing.
Oh, this could be it. Oh, okay, no, all right, it showed off now. Okay, good.